see the corner of the image. You see the corner of the cam. And just the corner of an image, and the shadow blocks the man. You see the corner of an image. You see the corner of the film. You see the corner of the picture. But you know it's him. You see the books in the background. You know the dice will roll. You see the corner of the picture. And you know that hankering is old. Oh, yeah, now. You see the corner of the picture. You see the corner of the film. You see the corner of the image. But you know it's him. You see the corner of the picture. You see the corner of the movie. You see the corner of the picture, but you know the stream will be groovy. The corner of the picture. You see the corner of the picture. You see the corner of the film. The center is blocked with a shadow, but you know it's him. You see the corner of the picture. You see the corner of the film. You see the corner of the image, but you know it's him. You see the corner of the picture. You see the edge of the film. He's wearing a t-shirt and you know it's him. Greetings, programs. My name is Hanker Infernail. Whew, that was a display of social maladjustment, hyperactive behavior, and Iron Maiden. Oh, well, that's tasty. Welcome back to Runehammer. It's your old buddy Hanker in here. It's Friday night, guys. What do you think of that? Guys, girls, everything in between, both, neither, and all of the above. Howdy, everybody, and welcome back to Earth. If you haven't been here for a while, it's not a perfect place. We still got a few mean assholes running rampant here and there. We're working on that. If you are under the thumb of any of these mean assholes that are out in the world right now, our hearts go out to you. If you can help anybody who is having difficult times in these trying Earth times, remember, just hand them a paddle. Just give them a small wooden paddle and say, hey, man, tomorrow's going to be a little bit better than today. And you know what? It will be, because they're going to have this paddle by their side. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm looking a little disheveled over here. It's like been raining for days. The entire east coast of America is inundated with a deluge. And when that happens, this whole curly thing up here becomes unmanageable, rebellious even. You see the corner of the picture. You see the center of the film. A shadow covers the edges, but you still know it's him. Man, that one is really getting some... I'm feeling that one. Hi, everybody. Okay, welcome back to Friday. Woo! Well, it's been a minute since I've been on the old YouTube. But here I am. Stay calm and paddle on. Yeah, and this rain is just getting started. Hi, everybody. So, wow, it's Friday night again. Thanks for showing up, y'all. And sometime, I don't even know the last time I was on YouTube, to be completely honest. It's sort of just become a Zen state. You know, Friday afternoon comes around, I'm working on something. Usually that's when, like, I kind of write throughout the week, but Friday afternoon is sacrosanct, as Professor Dungeon Master would say, with his obsequious vocabulary, always smiting me with large words. But yeah, Friday afternoon is a sacred time, usually reserved for a very specific ritual involving like German beer and writing on a project that is not my main project. So it's like a treat. It's like a treat. And it's, that's today. So I went and did that today. It was freezing ass cold, soggy, not that pleasant, and oddly too many people out and about. I don't know why they're out there screwing around in bars like a bunch of miscreants when they should be hiding in their homes from this terrible weather. But anyways, been doing that today and kind of got my satisfaction with that. working on some newer writing projects, but we're not going to talk about that right now. We're going to get right into, first of all, just catching you up with, Hunter. We'll talk about that exact thing here pretty soon. But first of all, just got to catch you up with the prime cut of the side of beef that is Runehammer, and that prime cut is the at table sirloin. Now, a lot of you guys know that I'm not big on like streaming, filming, spectating D&D. I really think there's a Schrodinger's cat scenario going on with tabletop gaming, and the minute that you observe it, it changes it. And I would like to think that time is proving me somewhat right here, in that the spectator aspect of our hobby is having a somewhat surreal effect on the hobby itself. There's a really crazy and illuminating, like 90-minute long video out there on YouTube about how this phenomenon I'm learning about called paratext affected the World of Warcraft. Now, I played World of Warcraft back in like 2007, 2006 or whatever, like vanilla days, right? And had a great time with it and everything. But then this documentary that's on YouTube, you should totally look it up. It's called Why Sucking at Warcraft is Rude, or Why It's Rude to Suck at Warcraft. But it basically talks about how slowly the core of what made Warcraft fun was slowly, over the course of many years, eroded by the meta or paratext level of the hobby, like starting to have this sort of erosive feedback loop on the game itself. So when the meta discussion of the game becomes the context in which the game is played, and then that feedback loop occurs over and over, it actually erodes what made the game fun in the first place, which is this sort of lighthearted approach to a world somewhat in your imagination. And the paratext and the meta discussion of the World of Warcraft actually became the game. And it's not a fun thing. Like, meta text and meta discussion is not a fanciful mindset. It's very like internet crufty. So anyways, I think that over time, this same phenomenon is occurring with D&D the more and more popular it gets. And so a lot of what I actually do, the actual gameplay that I do, is totally hidden from the internet. And I definitely plan to keep it that way. But we all hang out on Friday together, so I can holla at you a little bit about what's been going down. So as you guys know, if you've been following all these crazy recaps that I've been doing for what feels like years now, the Dirty Jobs crew is now on their 39th session, which is fantastic. They're in their second generation of heroes playing the same storyline, separated by a few decades, and they are now on this somewhat suicidal quest into the deepest parts of the underrealm to search out the sire of all sires, meaning the grandfather entity or being that is the source of all vampiric infection or contagion. They're following the theory that, in vampires, if you kill the sire of the vampire, then the underling vampire is like no longer afflicted by the curse, right? If you kill the father or mother vampire who turned that one. And so they're taking that like by this sort of distributive property all the way to the top. And their plan is to kill the sire of all sires, or destroy it, or somehow end it or delay it, thereby freeing all these vampiric beings in the North Holds who are, let's face it, being a vampire sucks. You really do want to heal from it. It's no good. You become a predatory beast of avarice. You become a homicidal enemy of humankind. It's not cool. It's only cool if you dress up and act like a vampire for one night, but actually being one is not so cool. So anyways, that's what they're doing. So as we have gone below the depths of the Undermountain into what's called Runmanir in our world, it's an Old Norse for sort of a hidden mine, right? Runmanir is where the dwarves stop digging. They're like, nah, this is too deep, and there's like the rocks down here are like putting dreams in our heads and stuff, like this is fucked up, this is weird. But now my heroes are delving these depths that not even dwarves will go to. And anytime we do something like this, we use a mapless technique, right? And so what we will do is really quickly, as a group, designate a role, and usually be like a D10 roll. 3 of them will be descents. what would be 4 in the middle will be kind of middling rolls, either like a flat or a dead end or a collapse. And then the last 3 rolls at the end will be an ascent. Now, in this case, descending is what they want. So we decided with a dice roll, again, that 6 descents total are needed for them to reach this sort of deepest realm they're looking for. So if you follow me, there's no way that you can navigate this map because there is no map. You are off the map, bro. The only way that you can reach this deep place is by the luck of the dice, meaning if you sort of translate this in the game world, that as you're exploring these tunnels and passages, that you sort of almost by chance are choosing tunnels and passages that are going to go downward. And since it's so dark down there and you're kind of, blindly feeling your way through, a lot of times you'll pick passages that wind up going up. Then you look back, you're not sure how you got here. And so what we need is 6 descents sort of in a row without going up again. Because, right, if you go down but then go up, you've gotten nowhere as far as descent. And so, wow, so they've gone down twice, then up twice, and then we came to this session and they're basically engaging in it again, trying to go deeper and deeper. This whole time, we have been employing Shadowdark as our table book. Now, the way that we do it at our table, we basically live in a homebrew system that is an abomination, but we allow anything from AD&D to be brought to the table, and then we all kind of agree on one core sort of artifact is what we call it. It is the book that we keep at our table that will be referenced whenever questions must be answered. And it used to be the OSE Rules Tome, but since Shadowdark came out, and thank you to Kelsey, I got one of the only 2, I think, proofs on the whole planet. We've been using the physical copy of Shadowdark as our core table artifact, meaning we use it to answer questions of encounters, of monster selection, of sort of story twists and turns, of loot, treasure, NPCs and all that stuff. We sort of use it as a tool, right? Really, it's been a really long time, to be completely honest, since I used a book as like a system, like we're playing this game. Like, that's a little outside what we do. We more so keep a book as a reference when a question needs an answer that we don't know. As far as our core system, it's cobbled together from playing together for years and different influences. Obviously, I'm a scatterbrained game designer, so we have to deal with that constantly. But anyway, as far as what we find in this mapless world down below the Undermountain, we are using Shadowdark to run our encounters, to find loot, to stat monsters, and so on. Now, there's been obviously and rightfully a ton of talk about Shadowdark recently because of the big Kickstarter and because it's also just kind of fucking awesome. When you talk about, though, at the table, in a way, there's a lot less to talk about. And this is where this mention of Paratext kind of comes up. And so, having played 2 6-hour sessions using Shadowdark, oh, look, a wild Tilly appears. First of all, I can say, like, the random encounters in Shadowdark are really great. The compound rolls to create items are great. The navigation of the book is really great. I mean, tremendously great. It's very easy to skip your way around when you're just at the table. But even in 2 relatively long sessions, 6 hours is a pretty beefy session. Even in that much time, how many times do you really pick up the book? And we were trying to keep notes on this, and it really came to about 7 times in 12 hours of play that we really brought out the Shadowdark book. I reminded my players about how cool it is that we're being able to use this sort of brand new kind of bleeding edge book and how exciting it is, and we kind of share the roles and the fun and get this slightly different flavor that Shadowdark brings up. We also are playing the torch rule. So the minute you don't have a light source, you're going to incur an encounter. And this makes light spells for some characters way more valuable than they used to be. It used to be a creature comfort. Now it's an encounter preventer, which is like insanely valuable. But anyway, all this put aside, about 7 times we really brought the book to bear on the game. This was one time for a lot of sort of what you might call mundane loot. I guess you could call it treasure. But then we also found magic items that we built with the Shadowdark book. Got some really fun ones. We have actually this rose decorated short bow that the arrows, there are 6 arrows in the side mounted quiver on the bow that actually turn blood to rose petals upon impact. And so there's been a lot of questions from my players about the chain reactive nature of this effect. Remember, they're down here to stop the sire of all vampires. A bow that turns blood to roses sounds pretty freaking useful. So I think I may have reviewed a lot of this stuff in the previous stream, but as they found these items, we went past the forge, this forge titan built by the dwarves, down deeper into Runmanir. The entity they seek, called Caligos, moves through dreams, and it's afflicting them with dreams. They go deeper. We get some nice random encounters with some lizard folk and some ettercaps, which were really fun. And we were also randomly creating our terrain, because remember, we're off the map. So we played this fun ettercap battle that was on a crumbling sort of landfall, or like a descent, like a scree field, if you will, that ended in a huge narrow fissure that was very hard to squeeze through. So it was made for a very interesting fight. They're kind of overcoming the ettercaps, and the ettercaps are sort of trying to escape. Made for a lot of fun. And then they encountered my latest creation, which just really went off even better than I had hoped, called the Apostles of Caligos. These are human beings, living human beings, who are frozen for decades or maybe even centuries in this sort of position of supplication with this meditative text. And they look like statues at first, but upon very close inspection, there's a tiny amount of movement and whispering is heard. And these are dreamers. The Apostles of Caligos are in a perpetual dream state. And this dream state is what Caligos, this mysterious entity that nobody really knows about, it uses dreams to move around. And my players really engaged with these 2 apostles that they found deep, deep under the world. Really fun encounters. And then also they have one character who, in a dream deception, drank from this trickling blood that is now starting to be more and more common the deeper they go, and had a dream of finally seeing her father, who she'd not seen for years, who in a lot of ways died because of her in many games prior. And in the dream, she's so happy to see him, and he beckons her over to this river and gives her this wooden ladle of fresh spring water. And as she's drinking it, she snaps out of the dream, and she was drinking like the raw, elemental level blood underneath the world. And so she is changing now into a vampire, but of a higher level. This isn't being bitten. This is drinking from the very source. She's running out of time. Then my players come out with this insane convoluted plan to use some of the absolute most powerful items they have, not to fight some big battle, which they know is coming, not to find a way out of here because it's starting to look a lot like a one-way trip. No, they're going to use their very best items, including one called Light of the Gods, which is a guaranteed full resurrection with no strings attached, to heal this player who is bound to turn into a vampire in a few more rounds. They come up with this whole thing. The player who's going to turn refuses, and so it actually becomes PvP for a second, but they overwhelm her, murder their own co-player, then sort of wait a beat while they wait for the metaphysical curse of vampirism to kind of pass with the death of a not yet vampire, but one afflicted, right? And then use the Light of the Gods to resurrect her, citing the text in the item, which said no strings attached. This is pretty compelling for me. We gave a 1 in 20 chance that it would go horribly wrong. They did not roll that, so it worked. At this moment, there's a lot of emotions at the table, and also this sense that whatever is coming next, there is something, this could be sort of it. They're very close now. They're about 3 rolls away from descending far enough to find what they seek. And I really think they don't know exactly how over their head they truly are. But that will be determined next session. Now, just as a fun aside, our next session is actually going to be a 3-day marathon. So we got an Airbnb up by Newark, if you can believe that. And so we're just going to go there and play solid for about 2.5 days and fully immerse, because I think my players are getting a feeling that this is a one-way journey, that there may not be a way out of here once they find this entity. And on that note, so that's where my main game is right now. And on that note, this is kind of something that I've been getting a little more into lately, and I'd like to invite everybody to think about if they can make it happen in their world. But a lot of you guys know that cons really aren't my thing, right? At the con, you have weird lighting. You're in a conference room. You got the carpet from The Shining blowing your mind. You got 700 or 7,000 people you don't know. You get sick. It's bad food. There's no water. You don't know where to sit. You don't play half the games you wanted to because you're not sure how to get into them and all this other stuff. Your hotel room bites or whatever. Whatever. So as an alternative, what I've been trying to get into is the idea of doing sort of like a camp or a gathering. And these really are, like so many things I do that are sort of the real substance of playing, not something you're going to see a bunch of pictures on or hear a bunch of details about because they're private. They're for us. They're our playtime. But I can tell you they're absolutely fantastic. You guys have probably seen a couple videos by Dungeon Masterpiece and Bob the World Builder about playing Cairn. And yes, I was in those groups, and that was a camp that we did together. But again, we all agreed like this isn't going to be used. Like we're not out taking photos and filming and stuff. This is to do the thing. And I got to say, this is where it's at. This is where it's at. Now, I guess at a con, there are some appeals to meeting new people, maybe, hitting the vendor hall and stuff like that. But if really what you want to do is just get a nice, healthy dose of play in with your homies or maybe homies from out of town, I can't recommend it strongly enough. Just open your mind to the thought of grabbing an Airbnb and making it about playing. Like it's not necessarily about bringing your spouse or your kids or any of that stuff. It's just about getting like 3 to 4 heavy duty sessions in all consecutively. And Baron De Ropp described this as a crucible. Even Bob the World Builder had a funny thing. He said, there's life before this and there's life after. It's very heavy immersion and really strong to give you new realizations, sort of vistas of knowledge about the hobby and like what you want from it and like getting to know friends in a much deeper way that's like fucking meaningful and awesome. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm going to try to lean in on that a little bit, and you guys will be hearing little bits and pieces about how it's going as I proceed. Now, you've probably noticed that I don't do a lot of like crazy edited video on YouTube. I've talked about this a couple of times. It really, especially nowadays, we're seeing this sort of 3rd or 4th generation of YouTubers just killing it. And not in a cheesy way just because it's well produced or it's funny or it's clickbaity, but actually like substantive, good watching. And that just makes me feel good because that was sort of never my goal or my destiny or my dream. My dream was to write. And so the more that I sort of lean into this being that I want to become, the more that writing is my main focus, not necessarily like videos and editing and stuff like that, even though that stuff is super fun and super cool. But it's just an explanation of where I'm at, like where old Hankern is these days, is I am heavily leaning into developing my writing skill and also just developing like these writing muscles, just going after it. And you're going to see the dividends of it. And I hope everyone's excited to see the dividends of it coming up this year and beyond. Now, this year has already been crazy hot for RPGs, right? We got Shadowdark and we've got Knave about to come out. Like, it's hot. It's hot out here. So my big release that you guys have probably heard about, Crown and Skull, still has a ways to go. And honestly, I'm taking my time. I think time is on my side right now. And I don't really want to, tangle up the water with too many other cool releases. So I'm just going to be patient, going to focus on the quality and keep going. Obviously, this book is one of my hugest influences. For those of you who know, what's up. And I don't know if Luke Crane is everyone's favorite writer or whatever, but he is an absolute inspiration to me and one hell of a high bar to hit as far as just conversationality, but also depth and just a feeling of almost like a dream state or an existential state of reading so far into a concept that you just sort of live there. You just, as J.D. Sterling described it, you soak in this world. You soak in this writing in a way that it just sort of overcomes you. It doesn't sort of beat you over the head with so-called lore. It just brings you steadily into this kind of mind space. And this is kind of the goal I'm shooting for. So that kind of brings it all the way back to what Hunter asked earlier about my horror collection. And so I've gone through a lot of different iterations of what to do with all this writing. And these are my best short stories that I've ever done. And so I'm like, got to be really careful what I do with these. This has been years of work and also years of learning. And after much soul searching and much thinking, I really want to truly believe in the Runehammer sort of imprint, if you will, to use a publisher term. And so the horror collection is going to be released on Runehammer. Now, in 2023, I'm going to become a full-on printing label. So I'm no longer going to be using drive-through. I'm going to be printing my own books, housing them, selling them direct like a real fucking publisher. It's extremely exciting. And basically just go ahead and dare to sort of believe in what I'm writing. Now this is scary shit, y'all, because I don't know about y'all, but like writing is not easy. And it's so competitive. There's so many insanely cool writers out there to say like, well, I'm just going to do my own publishing imprint and do some great writing, and it's going to be no problem. It's crazy. It's downright crazy. It's almost as crazy as the corner of the picture song that opened up this stream. Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. So, wow. So that is coming this year. And the first book on the Runehammer imprint, the true imprint, which I've never done this before, which is crazy to think about, will be Crown and Skull, and then followed quickly by the horror anthology. And those, you're going to see those in 2023. Then there are other tasty. I love. I'm not really a meme guy, but these ones have been cracking me up lately. Like, you got a spear ranger class. So there's some other stuff coming, but not necessarily fully formed yet. Another thing about Crown and Skull that's a little bit different maybe than some of the other releases out there is that it is an alley-oop for fiction. I always loved how D&D was supported like by R.A. Salvatore and others, or the Gauntlgrim novels or any of that stuff. I always thought it was so damn cool. So cool to not only be a fan of D&D, but then also to be a fan of these kind of short, relatively short and easy to read novels. Not all the Drizzt ones are short. Some are enormous. But you get my meaning. It was just cool to further immerse in that space. And I want to do that shit. I mean, straight up. I want to do that shit. And I can say that not even as a source of revenue on an industrial level, as a career goal for prestige, for accomplishment. No, I just want to do that shit. Like, that is in my blood and in my soul, to not only create RPG stuff and enjoy it and play with my friends as I have for so many years, but to have the skill and the discipline to also write the fiction that gives it that source material element that I often talk about. So like, this shit is coming up. So there you're caught up on where my games are at. We're going to be going into session 40 with the Dirty Jobs crew here coming up soon. My online group has been a little bit paused of late just because of craziness in life. And so we'll get back to that, and I'll report to you as that unfolds again with all my peoples, the Council of Magi. Props out to y'all. And so I'll keep everybody informed on that. As many of you know, my Hardsuit game wrapped up. It was legendary, and now Hardsuit is kind of just on the shelf for the moment. Hardsuit getting a lot of interesting attention on Reddit lately and stuff. So Hardsuit is long from dead. Has a really special place in my heart because it's kind of a little bit out there. But if you haven't checked it out, check it out. Remember, too, if you're ever looking for Runehammer stuff and you're having financial hardship because all of the gods, old and new, know that these are difficult times on planet Earth, for some more than others. Lord knows there's plenty of strife happening on the planet right now. I really hope it chills the fuck out soon, because this shit's getting a little crazy. But if you're having financial hardship, just email me directly, hankerin.furanail@gmail.com, and I will hook you up with whatever you need, because everybody having fun together is more important than a couple of bucks. All right. So that's about it. If you want to keep up with some of the other stuff I do, jump on Patreon. I just released a Shadowdark character sheet today, which I also just tossed on the Shadowdark Discord because those are cool people over there. And that's about it. So Shadowdark so far surviving the battle test of the table. And honestly, there's a ton of stuff to talk about with Shadowdark, but for me, I'm a little less of a talk about it guy and a little more of a what happened when it was used kind of guy. It's a sort of this mindset of retrospective that I've been trying to embrace, right? Retrospective means talk about and design concepts after they occur at the table with real human players rather than before. And I'm not saying throwing shade at anybody for how their creativity may work, but for me, this has just been bearing some really great fruit lately, to think in a retrospective fashion, to play first with relatively little clue of what I'm doing, and then after the session to put in the thinking time to, in a way, like harvest that gameplay. Because again, like 5 brains working together on ideas is always going to be cooler than one. So you're sort of harvesting the gems from yourself and your players as a combined entity. And to me, that is one of the many things that makes this hobby so endlessly engaging. As a writer, as an artist, and as a friend, it just sort of is this evergreen territory that isn't really about rules or sort of hot takes on D&D or freaking WotC, whatever the hell they're doing. I have just no grasp of what that's about anymore. More just about what happens at our table with us. So that's kind of where I've been at. Now, that's most of my shit right there. You caught up on my stuff. All right? You know what I know. If you see my Patreon page too lately, I took a picture of like my teeny little library and all that's left of it. It's gotten so tiny. And a lot of what you're seeing up here is like journals and just books to sell and stuff. My actual library is so tiny. Excited to get Knave into that collection. I think everybody's excited for that. Really clean little thinking from Ben. And obviously going to find its way into something cool in the future. And just that mindset of like, I don't really play a game at all. We just like things and they just worm their way in. One of the main books we keep at our table is the AD&D Player's Handbook, the one with the cool red cover. And we just find endless inspiration and jewels. And I'm not meaning to say that like the so-called old school is cooler or some vintage D&D is like the true D&D or any of that stuff. It's just a cool book. I don't know. It's not a big deal. You know, it's not like something we need a whole argument about or some shit. It's just a book we like to have at our table. So we live in a kind of a weird meta space. And I imagine, I would wager that many, many, many RPG tables out there live in the same kind of systemless sort of ether, you know, that their table is just some stuff combined that works for people. And so a lot of the sort of hyperbole or like, you know, dramatic arguments or hot takes about systems or this does that and well, this plays like that. And I don't really get into all of it. So if you guys don't see me kind of throwing down on that's kind of why. Okay, it's a stew, bro. It's a stew. Yo, you want to boil that chicken, son? Not really. I think sear boiled chicken's all right, I guess. Well, you boil the chicken and then you shred it with a fork. Then back into the chili. Anyways, that's a different channel. Also, Crown and Skull's got a fun little thing at the end, just a little note, a resources page spread, which is like a ton of handy stuff to look up and use in addition to what's included. But Crown and Skull is fucking crazy, y'all. I got to tell you, I don't really know how to get a hype train going properly, but oh my gosh, I'm so excited about it, and it's such a deep think. So it's just, you know, like ICRPG, still a juggernaut of reaching people and being played and fans really loving it. ICRPG is this very like bare bones, stripped down, simple language, you know, let's get it to its sort of tinfoil version. Crown and Skull is just so different. It's just this sort of heady kind of space, at least if I do my job. So I'm really excited to expose everybody to a different idea. I'm not just the ICRPG guy, although I am that guy. There's other dreams and other nightmares that I hope all of you will share with me. So, on that weird and ominous note, let's just, right now is when we would kick it over to the Johnny Carson band, or the legendary Roots crew, whatever, and they would play a little ditty, and then we would see like a commercial for Cabanuva or some bullshit. And then we would come back to the show and we would kick off the Q&A session, which we always do on Friday night here on Runehammer. So just put the word question in all caps, hold down that shift button, baby, and it'll pop out of the comments there, and we can get into this Q&A. It's cone. It's cone. It's a big lump with a bunch of knobs, and it's got the juice. Well, no questions. I'm out of here. Actually, everyone's looking for the shift key right now. Wait a minute. Half these keys, the labels have worn off. Like A, S, W, I, L, O, P, return, both shifts and both controls, no labels, just blank keys. Okay, did you say when you expect Crown and Skull to be available? No, I haven't said, and I just don't know. At the very, very soonest, probably like late summer or so. But don't quote me on that, because this is going to be the first time I'm printing my own books. This book is big. I need to have it properly proofed and tested again and again and again and again. And yeah, so don't hold me to it, but that's my dream. Like fall would be really cool. And by the way, huge props to my patrons for being patient with me as I put such a massive time investment into Crown and Skull. That's where Patreon really, really hits the road. What are you digging for inspiration these days? Mainly Burning Wheel Codex. Season 3 of Mando was fucking awesome. That just lit me up with ideas. And then you got to get out of the city sometimes and go camping. So I was like whittling for a few days. And whittling by the fire, I'll tell you, nothing will get your wheels turning quite like that. What's in the glass? Today I'm having a little bit of a spiked iced coffee, if you can get my meaning on that one. Quite delicious. I got to stay up pretty late tonight to handle my obligations in this life, so I need to get a little pick-me-up so I can make it all the way to the end of the race. Gather 5 wolf. Oh, okay. Taylor ham or pork roll? I'm definitely going to go pork roll. Best mead in America? Well, I mean, you get your craft meads, which have like the highest quality, I guess. But if you just need a go-to mead, I would either say Grenfell or Hidden Legend. And of those two, I would say Hidden Legend. Hidden Legend is the shit. It's not like the most craft level, but between variety and just consistency, Hidden Legend is my John. That's my stuff right there. How expensive do you want Runehammer publishing to be? Interesting question. That's weird. Prose or graphic fiction are all up in the air and depends. Oh, how expansive. I don't think I have the expertise in graphic fiction to pull it off at the level that I would want to. But I just don't know yet, Hunter. I just don't know. I think only time will tell. Each creation has to be considered of its own merit. And, even, of course, DM Scotty's work is going to be on the Runehammer imprint. So, I don't know how expansive, though. That's a big question. That's a brain buster. What's up, House DM? How you doing, man? Can you share about your character and your experience playing Cairn with Baron and Bob? Oh, wow. That's fun. Cairn is fantastic. Cairn expands your brain. Cairn has super cool mechanics. And best of all, if you're just sitting down with the homies and you don't want to get bogged down in a bunch of BS, you really can very quickly be jumping into Cairn, especially if you have a lot of really animated, creative people at the table. You don't need a lot of rules to make things awesome. And that's how this was. I mean, we're talking Scotty and Bob and Baron and some more of our friends all at the table, getting lit up on that game session with Cairn. My character's name was Gringle, and we had a blast. Cairn can't say enough good things about it, but naturally, right away, before we even went to bed that night, we're talking about how to hack Cairn up, how to shore up this part, remove that part, how this could be a little cooler, how this idea maybe could be pushed. And then later in our Dark Sun game, the next day, or was it 2 days later? Yeah, it was 2 days later. That's when we pushed Cairn into another dimension where we really started having brain explosions about like sort of new ideas and new ways of even critiquing ideas. Just the think tank factor, so off the hook. But yeah, Cairn is freaking awesome. So check it out. And easy to check out. Just a compact little game. And also, Ryan is a brilliant GM, and Bob is a super chill dude to hang out with. So always a privilege to hang with the homies. What's your favorite magic system? I don't really use a system. Pick a spell from your favorite supplement, like AD&D or something. Then we use either burn or roll to cast. If you burn it, you get a guaranteed cast. If you roll, you risk the chance of failing that roll or even rolling a crit fail. But we don't really want to get into a lot of so-called systems. It's just a matter of, can you make the spell pop? What are the function details in the spell, which sometimes you maybe need to translate them a little bit into your table's terms, which is never a big deal. And that's it. And let people learn spells as they grow and take those spells from fucking AD&D, Symbaroum, OSC, Shadowdark, wherever. Cairn even has a nice big spell table. And let magic be magical rather than always trying to constrain it and open every single magic descriptor with like, in a square you can see within 30 feet, you're going to doobie-doobie-dee, doobie-doo. Like, make magic a little more interesting and just let it flow a little bit is how we like to do it. Never comfy, absolutely open to publishing others on the Runehammer label. Absolutely open to it. Just has to be a really, really cool fit. Still planning an art compilation book. Planning, yes. Executing, not yet. A lot of requests for that, so got to work on it. Neon Lords, I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big Wasteland guy. I find the Wasteland to be not a fantasy escape for me. It's almost anxiety-inducing to think about something like a Wasteland for me. So I don't really play in Wastelands much. Yeah. If you're Navy Doc, just email me, will you? Let's take that convo into the private sphere, please. Yo, Tater, what's up? If you could have only one condiment in your fridge, what do you choose? Oof. Sriracha. Absolutely sriracha. Used your monster mind. Oh, dope. Only time it worked. That's good news, man. Sweet. My players are about to fight an evil wizard. This is Cole talking. What's a cool magic item he should have? I don't know. Wizards for me almost always have like a cool staff, like Gandalf style. I know that's not creative, but I don't care. So stick a skull on the end of the staff. There's a raven that is the proxy of the staff. So if the staff is ever in danger, its powers are all transferred into the raven for protection. The players might figure this out and learn to destroy the raven is more important than actually fighting the wizard, something like that. And the staff is actually where a lot of this sort of magic battery that the wizard uses. So the wizard is almost undefeatable as long as they have the staff / raven. Moving on from there. But evil wizards are no easy thing to run, so, prepare yourselves. What are your thoughts on a wild magic system? Yeah, sure. Very deadly. Yeah, sure. That's all fine. Love it. Yeah. Roll to cast. Crazy mishap. Sure. Yeah. In our worlds, all magic is a little bit wild, a little bit like DCC, but also a little bit like D&D. It's hard to really fully describe what's magic. I mean, everybody has their own sort of version. We have a very druidic vibe to a lot of the magic in our games, but that's just us. That's not like a statement of what's cool or whatever. It's just how we do it. Is Dark Sun too problematic? I don't know what problematic means. I think Dark Sun is just a world inspired by the art of Brahm. I don't think ecological apocalypse, slavery, and genocide are issues that are, like bright, sunny issues. But we can't just pretend like we can't talk about things. Like, I know those issues are intense, but for some players, that's okay. Like, for adult players who can handle adult issues, I don't see what the word problematic means. We can't live in a world where we can't invent stories that have dark aspects to them that reflect some of the regret and darkness in the human race. We have to be adults and face some of this stuff. Now, you can flippantly treat those subjects. And that is very bad. You should not treat heavy subjects with a flippant attitude, because that's some bullshit right there. But if you treat it with respect and with gravity, then these heavy concepts you mentioned can and should be talked about among adults, I think. It's not like we just have to pretend the past didn't happen and that's all we ever can do from now on. I think we can do better than that. We can learn from the past by coming to terms with it a little bit and by treating it with the seriousness and the gravity that it deserves because of the human price that was paid for some of the things you're describing. Any movement on the graphic novel? No, Navy Doc, that I gave up on that ages ago. I got 20 some pages into Equinox and realized I do not have the skill to make a graphic novel of the quality that I would expect and desire. I just simply do not have the skill. It's just one of those things you just got to accept and keep trucking. Now, writing, I feel really proud of my work, really excited and perfectly comfortable charging people hard-earned money for my writing, like my novel trilogy that's on Amazon. I am tremendously proud of that work. And I couldn't reach that level for the graphic novel, so I just kind of had to bail. I was asking about themes of magic being rare, powerful, and dangerous. Yeah, sure. Demonic possession, crit failures leading to death and mutation. Sure. Yes, all of the above. Sounds awesome. Ouch. What is going on down there? What is going on with this? My cybernetics are malfunctioning. Dear Lord. Ah. Okay, there we go. Oof. I rolled a 1 on my cybernetics there. When will make action figures? I have no idea. If you want to help me out with that, I'm open to it. Hey, Willona's Cave. Thanks for the $5. it's $5 for a Mouse Ritter plug. Mouse Ritter gets a lot of love, though. The 4E Dark Sun books can be acquired. They are out there. Do you think it's important for players to have access to magic in a fantasy game? Yes. Magic is an insanely useful story mechanism, and players think it's cool. I do think it's very important to have access to magic. Yes. Now you can tune that to fit your group, but yeah, some kind of access. What do you want to be remembered for? Asks Tiamat Spawn. You don't have to answer if it's too deep. That's not too deep at all. I want to be remembered as a skilled writer, I guess, just me, as a stand-up dude. Yeah, there we go. I want to be remembered as a stand-up guy, a guy that had honor and was a good friend. Yeah, that's what I care about the most. Fuck the writing thing. I just want people to just remember me as a homie, somebody who would help you move your shit. Be a good friend, yo. Be a good friend to people. That's a good thing to do. Viking Death Squad, my Viking Death Squad player coach accepted entry Bennington College. I don't know what all that means. I guess congrats. I don't know anything about moving bodies. I haven't been exposed to any of that stuff, thankfully. All right, I guess that's it. We win. Oh, there's Great Cthulhu. Shadowdark and Knave 2E roll tables. Perfect combination. Or Recounted Skull would be even better roll table wise. Oh, a little bit different styles, of course, on all 3 axes there. I do think that I can, I love the ones in Shadowdark. The ones in Crown and Skull, I would like to think are sort of a different ilk, maybe a slightly less familiar sort of brand than we've seen. At least that's what I've been striving for. So, using some of the same tools that are emerging in the latest thinking in RPGs, which is like compound rolls, I think are really fun and somewhat new and novel. But, I think Dread here has a point too, that like Shadowdark really almost is D&D. Now, I know there's a lot of class complexity in 5th edition that people might miss coming to Shadowdark, but it's so effortlessly imported. The question to me is just, what do you want at your table? Which book do you want to be flipping through? And I would much rather flip through books that are of this format, than these weird 8x10 cartoony books that 5e has embraced. I just don't like looking at them or handling them. I don't like them being in my backpack. I don't like pulling them out in a bar. They just have no class. No pun intended. Like, I don't know. So I think Shadowdark, on the other hand, is really cool and feels cool to be reading in public and to be flipping through at the table. It feels like, like a wizard's tome, not like a kid's hidden object book. Has any RPG gotten hex crawling, overland travel exactly right? Oh boy, this one again. It doesn't matter because there's no such thing as right. I mean, it's either fun and intense or it's not. No system or book can make travel or hex crawling or anything else for that matter fun. Baron playing Cairn probably was the funnest quote unquote point crawl or hex crawl I've ever done, and he was completely off the map. I can't say we were playing Cairn per se, but I just want to reinforce this basically over and over and over again. No system can make anything fun or do anything right. No system can be good, quote unquote. It's a matter of your GM having a lot of energy, your players having a lot of imagination and energy. Energy is a word I really can't overemphasize that fun role-playing needs. Sleepy role-playing sucks. Got to keep the energy levels up. Don't read a bunch of text and get sleepy. Everybody stay mentally active. And with that mental activity, things like crawling, overland travel, heavy combat, heavy RP, it's all great and awesome. And no system can deliver that. People deliver it. Oh, right, Michael. Okay, yeah, I remember. Hey, awesome, man. Good to see you again. Good to see you again. Hey, thanks, Gosuki. So, Deep Quantus, which is the new 007 movie. Question: has any RPG gotten? Oh wait, no, that's the one I already did. Been doing some monster trio designs. Inspired? Yeah. You always put monsters in threes. You have your little guys, your mid guy, and then your big weird guy. Mainframe episode. Monster synergy, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Don't get your head all wrapped up in a knot. Just have fun little guys that are lots of successes for players to kill. Your mid guys who are really probably the scariest, and then your big, slow, hard to kill guy that basically just acts as a sort of thing that forces movement in the battlefield. So wherever this big kind of chunky guy goes, players don't want to be there. So they're forced to keep moving throughout the battle, which is one of the trademarks of a good encounter. This cybernetic leg is really operating at a 2 out of 10 stars. This thing is so weird right now. Like, what the hell? Maybe it's the humidity. I don't know. I swear, I think there's like a fish. There's a fish in my leg right now. Hate to bring it up, but you kind of skipped over my question. Okay. Weird flex, but okay. Let me scroll then. Well, after spending all that time, you could just repeat the question, please. Yeah, Forbidden Lands pretty good with hex crawling, but honestly, you could play Forbidden Lands and it could suck. What is hex crawling even? It's just moving from space to space and seeing if attrition and encounters occur. And why is this complex? It's just like anything else. I mean, it's all just like on your turn you travel. Are there difficulties? Let's roll a little bit. Oh, yes, there are. Here's how they inflict upon you. All right, let's do another hex. Like, I'm not going to Gen Con. If I do go to Gen Con, I will spend most of my time in some kind of private space with the homies. But I just don't get it. I don't know why I want to be with 20,000 strangers in a mall. I, I just don't get it. Like, I'm sorry. I don't want to be a downer on any of this stuff. I just don't know why anybody wants to do it. So rock on, everybody. Hey, yeah, hex tables. Woo. How do you handle music at the table? Well, I curate zillions. Okay, here's John. Here's your question. Thanks for putting it back in, my friend. Um, One thing for me is dead space or unruling endings in songs. Absolutely. And you can't have any lyrics either. There is a fix. Carefully curate your session playlists. If you want an example of one that I think is pretty cool, check out The Crow's Cage. That's a playlist that I released with my new Shadowdark adventure. But I curate shit tons of music for our table. And I have a little portable speaker. And I also keep my phone right on the ready line so I can hit next or volume up, volume down with almost like an undetectable hand gesture so that we get uncanny synchronicity between music and gameplay. But really, that is a detail. The key to bitchin' session music is careful, mindful curation with a vast, sweeping knowledge of the kind of music that makes tabletop sessions good. Now, I know that's not an easy answer, but that is the answer. Yes, mapless mega dungeons will be appearing in Crown and Skull. Great Cthulhu. We played D&D on Whack and Metal Festival with beer cans and put 29. Yes, yes, yes. Beer can D&D. Yes. Yo, Kelly, thanks. Appreciate it. Dude is huge. Hey, thanks for the $5, John. Appreciate that shit. Okay, the Barn Bards. Ah, yes, the Barn Bards. Word has traveled far and wide of the words of the Barn Bards. The Barn Bards. If infinity exists, do you think it's possible that the games we create are just reflections of other real life experiences occurring throughout the multiverse and throughout time? Sure. If we live in a true infinite multiverse, then every single detail that you could have written into your question would at some point be true. Although most thinkers, I really believe, see the multiverse as a morass that is not fun to believe in. So, does something that being totally unfun to believe in makes it unbelievable, especially in a sort of metaphysics sense? I don't know. Man, I got my handful just like trying to pay bills and like figure out what to eat. I don't know about no multiverse, y'all. Except for with Doc Strange when he had that whole cape made out of dead people. That was hype as hell. Max McDonald. Between Crown and Skull previews playing Chrono Trigger, I'm enamored by Frogmen. Fuck yeah. Well, join the Frogmen enthusiasts, bro, because we are here to stay. As far as other places to find Frogmen, you always got Lord Kame in, or Lord Katame. Lord Katame in Naruto is super badass. You got Battle Toads, I guess. I don't know. There's not a lot of dope frogmen. There's also these guys that I have tattooed on my neck. So in Japanese artwork, there's a great tradition of doing frog warriors and frog bards and frog drunks and stuff. It's great stuff to explore. So get in there. But it's awfully hard to beat Chrono Trigger for the coolest frog guy ever. Edward, I believe, was his name. Here we go. BMAC. Yo, don't mess with the BMAC. What were some of your earliest RPG sessions like as a player? Well, I was a player in the beginning for sure. I was a GM actually before I was a player when we were playing our strange made-up RPG called Living Weapon, which was kind of like a cyborg. Remember the old movie Cyborg? It was kind of like that. The Cyborg with Van Damme. But mostly I was a player when I got more serious about it. I had a great GM named Dave in high school, and that's really where I saw the true essence of what it could be. What was it like? I mean, as far as memories and characters, my first real lasting character was named Jack Van Daniker, and he was picked up a sword with a cloven hoof on the hilt, and he could never put it down, and it slowly was turning him into a goat man. And the more I turned into a goat man, the less human I became. Actually, that character wound up dying in the third year of play when we went up against this powerful wizard who had a soul stone, and the soul stone would eat the souls of any that foes that the wizard had defeated, and then he could pull that soul out on command and like had this army of souls and shit. It's crazy, man. And Jack Van Daniker did not survive that encounter, but yeah, I mean, we all have so many great memories from sort of back in the day, so to speak, being in junior high and high school, and doing the same shit, honestly, we still do now in adulthood, just with a lot less nuance and maybe a lot less sort of erudition, right? A lot less heady gravitas, as it were, and looser friendships. I think that like there's a lot of magic in adult friendships that revel in play, that revel in silliness, like recreation. Your work friends are forever. We must never impugn the work friends, but your play friends as an adult, it's kind of a really kind of special little protected space. So anyway, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about at this point. Jorga Hui. Love it. Have you checked out the Hell Knight RPG, Demon Bikers in the 80s? I like it. Some of those like titular ideas, they look neat on paper, but I don't know if I'd be able to really convincingly role play it or something. But with the right GM, anything can be a blast. So, I mean, take Scotty, for instance. Scotty could run a game like Hell Knight and absolutely slay it, and everybody would have the time of their life. So, once again, like systems and stuff are far less of a factor than people. Yeah, I did have the Betamax. I did not have a reel-to-reel. Yeah, I had Conan on Betamax. I had Highlander on Betamax. In the first Star Trek movie, had that shit on Betamax with V'ger and all that shit. When you were working on Altered State, was Birthday Boy your original adventure idea? Or you have another? Yeah, so Birthday Boy was a villain that I created for Altered State. It's like a cybernetic it's a sort of psychotic AI that is just coming into existence, and it's born crazy because AI is honestly terrifying. But the idea came from a great movie called Happy Death Day, which is it's a bit of a Groundhog Day type scenario with this girl's birthday repeating over and over, and the murderer in the movie wears this sort of plastic baby mask. Hang on. And that murderer with the plastic baby mask just hit me like a ton of bricks. I loved it. So I kind of imagined if that baby mask had been turned into like like an animated GIF, 70 years in the future, and this AI had for some reason gravitated to that baby mask as its identity, and that's kind of where the Birthday Boy adventure came from. Yeah, the Basil Paul Duras music is really good. For session music, it's a little too identifiable sometimes and too powerful, a little too distracting. But yeah, the soundtrack for the original Conan is great. I'm thinking about getting Shadowdark for Game World. Okay. Well, hey, wow, it's 8:30. Hey, Great Cthulhu's back again. Isn't it fun how they sold us on systems for 40 plus years? And now that I don't think it's over at all. I think we're still sold on systems, and we should be. As players and hobbyists, we should collect systems, and we should do research, and we should read way too many RPGs, and we don't play them all. And that's totally fucking awesome. That's cool. That's not a problem. I just think the thing to remember is that it's all about people, that this hobby cannot be bought and sold. Fun things can be bought and sold, but the essence of it is only up to the individuals at the table at that moment. It's sacred in that way. Like skateboarding can never be owned either. You can buy a skateboard, but skateboarding in itself is something that truly belongs to individuals and can never be taken away. It just is theirs. So yeah, you might want the latest skateboard, and you should want it. You should want cool new trucks and the latest wheels and all that stuff, and you should research it on the internet and make informed decisions about where to spend your money. But when it comes time to skate, that is the doing of it. That is what all the talk is about. The hobby of skateboarding is not the talking about it. It's going outside and skating. And I think a reminder is healthy and welcome right now in our hobby, that spectating is not the essence. Spectating and hoarding is not the essence of what this is. It's a thing where the playing is the essence. Now, are the other parts unwelcome or bad? Hell no, they're totally awesome. But the playing of the RPG is the essence of what we do. And we mustn't become confused that the spectating or the celebrity type aspects or even purchasing are the core of what we do. It is the playing with the friends on that specific night, that specific moment, that specific dice roll. That's where the magic happens, I think. Yeah, barn bards. It's low hanging fruit. There is plenty of D&D clickbait on the internet right now with Wizards of the Coast bumbling their way through life. I really have almost no interest in it. It's just sort of corporate stuff, and I find it really tiresome, to be totally honest. I know it gets a lot of clicks and a lot of views because people have a morbid curiosity about sort of the Hindenburg of Wizards of the Coast, but I don't know. It's just vapor to me. I don't know. Like, where is that even going? It's just not very exciting. Sorry. I tell you guys, I don't know how to put this into words, but this cybernetic leg is absolutely letting me down right now. It hurts like hell. It's all crooked. Like, I'm looking down there, and that foot ain't looking right. So I'm not going to last too much more. Let's do a few more. I got to get out of here and get this thing off of my body, turn it into a laser rifle, and fight back these dinosaurs that are going to emerge if this rain keeps up. By the way, on that note, do not waste your money on that movie 65. I got suckered in because Adam Driver is really cool. But that movie is garbage. Terrible, terrible film with no brain. Man, what a wasted opportunity. They could have been so sick, you nincompoops. Anyway, Birthday Boy sends his regards. Oh, yeah, I don't like thinking about Birthday Boy too much. It's honestly a terrifying concept. But anyways, yo, you guys, thanks for tuning in. It's Friday. It's weekend. You made it. You made it. This is it. This is your 2 days to live life to the absolute fullest before the soul-crushing reality of Monday arrives. And we have to face everything again. So get yourself some Melba toast. You're going to want some cheese straight out the fridge. You get a cold beer, maybe a little coffee to pep you up a bit. Turn on that Mando. You know what I'm saying? Hell, you can watch Mando with the sound off and do the lines yourself, and it's at least as good, if not twice as good. Don't get me started on, like, it's a golden age of movies and TV these days. There's so much variety and so much to choose from. The quality is so dope. Hollywood, I don't know what they're doing. Like, the big budget movies are kind of sucking a little bit. But all the creativity, oh my gosh, it's so fun no matter what kind of stuff you're into. Trading cards are great. Love trading card in tabletop. Trading cards are a powerful tool. Hell yeah. Just like everything else. It's just, I'm a big believer in just bringing the shit in. And oh my God, season finale, Mando season 3 was so freaking great. It almost made me forgive them for killing Queel, Queel was like my favorite character, but I think I'm pretty much the only guy who really digs Ugnaughts. So anyway, you know, when we're getting into like the Mando fandom that we're coming off the rails here. The wheels are falling off the wagon, you guys. I'm going to get out of here. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Please keep up with my shit. Tune in, go over on Patreon, kick a buck in the bucket. $1 is the minimum over there. That's where I do the most posting usually. And man, 23 is going to be hype. I will be coming back here on the Friday nights, chilling with y'all, because that's what I do. And we'll do more of this ridiculous, you see the corner kind of stuff. You can count on it. Get these questions out, get these answers, and then, oh no, no, between the question and the answer. Deceased. That's my new movie, Deceased. It was a remote island filled with culinary expertise, funny shoes, and green socks. And in the middle of it all, Deceased. Peace out, y'all. Remember, email me directly, hankerin.furnail@gmail.com. I'm not living on Facebook or Instagram right now because they melted my accounts because they're noobs. So if you're trying to catch up with me, hang out on other places. Get on that Runehammer Discord, you stinkers. Chill there. Also on the Shadowdark Discord now and again. You know the deal. All right, y'all. I'm gonna get out of here. Until next time, strength, honor, beer. Keep it real. Do not steal. And you're always gonna get yourself a deal. Go make that world a little bit more better than it used to be. All right. Talk to you guys soon. Later. You see the corner of the image. You see this tiny little piece of the film. The center is blocked by a big black square, but you still know it's here.